Ladies and gentlemen, on this Red Gaming Telecom video, it's been confirmed that on the 17th of March 2015, we'll be seeing DMC Devil May Cry. Once again, a remaster on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, releasing at 1080p, 60 frames per second. Although, to be fair, the fact that I actually need to tell you it's 1080p and 60 frames per second with modern day gaming is kind of a bit concerning. But you might remember that back in the day, when Ninja Theory did release this game on the PS3 and Xbox 360, was running at 30 frames per second, and they actually got some flack for that. People weren't that happy. They did expect and want the game to be running at 60 frames per second. And it's actually kind of funny, because back then Ninja Theory had gone on record and said, oh, don't worry, frame rate isn't important. Well, looks like they kind of changed their mind. Anyway, this definitive edition, is going to come with a bunch of downloadable skins, which personally I don't really care. There's also going to be a bunch of new modes, including a turbo mode, which is going to make the game run 20% faster. Hardcore mode. There's going to be redistribution of key items and collectibles and that type of thing. Devil Trigger, combo system is all going to be rebalanced to make the game more difficult if that's what you want to do, particularly in hardcore mode. You've got Virgil's Bloody Palace DLC, as well as new additional levels where you can play as Virgil. Now, I did mention that you're also going to be getting Devil May Cry 4. Now, this is due out on the PS4 and Xbox One in summer 2015. Now, this title, of course, was the last title internally produced by Capcom, and it got some controversy because it starred Nero rather than Dante. Now, perhaps it's difficult for me to be excited about this purely because of the amount of remasters, but to me it's getting a little bit ridiculous. I mean, DMC Devil May Cry is a couple of years old. I guess it really depends on what they do with the graphics. Obviously, we don't really have that much yet in terms of playability, but judging purely by looking at the trailer, I have to say that I'm not really that impressed with the graphics. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's definitely an improvement over the consoles, but it's certainly not as impressive as, say, the Tomb Raider remasters, or let's say The Last of Us. The Last of Us, or GTA, which in my personal opinion did look quite significantly better. The other thing with GTA and The Last of Us is it's arguable that there was a reason for their remastering. In other words, the fact that the consoles that they were on barely were able to run the games at a reasonable frame rate. I mean, often the frame rate would start tanking to like the mid-20s, particularly at certain instances of traffic, for example, on GTA. And if you're playing The Last of Us, it's particularly if there's a lot of fog and mist, for example, the bloaters, they definitely get a lot of frame rate drop. I personally am just not that interested about a new DMC remaster. Maybe it's just me, but I mean, I read over some comments, kind of looked at some people's reactions, friends' reactions, and it seems to be pretty much all the same thing. People are saying, oh god, another remaster. I'm sure the game will sell reasonably well. They're only asking £30 for DMC Devil May Cry. As far as I can tell, you're not getting both in a collection, which would be kind of cool. But you're not getting that. And I don't know. It feels more like new money for old rope, to be totally and utterly honest with you. And I can kind of get behind remasters if they're done really, really well. But I'm pretty sure most of us would like to have seen a remaster of the original Devil May Cry, like Devil May Cry 1, Devil May Cry 2 and so forth, with much better graphics, HD, maybe even using the DMC engine. That would be kind of cool. But I just personally find it really difficult to get excited about yet another remaster. But maybe that's just me, as I said, but, well, I just can't help feeling the way I feel. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.